Happy Wednesday, diary listeners. Thank you all for the wonderful condolences for my poor kitty and for the grace that you gave me this past week and then yesterday. Especially thank you, Elo. I really appreciate you, hun. Elo is our guest for this week and next week. This is a two-part diary episode, or diary entry, rather. We're splitting it up into two sizable chunks, but they're good. Elo is really a great storyteller, and he introduced me to a concept that I wasn't aware of, but it was the inspiration of this week's diary entry, part 1, we are calling Maybe. So check it out. Welcome to the Apprenticeship Diaries, where raw meets refined.
Let's be real, we're still working on refining.
What it took, what it takes, and the stories that are made.
Join us as we learn from professionals about how their stories began.
Look at you. Aw, you're so sweet.
Yeah, I didn't want to blind you.
Well, it's giving you a nice halo.
Yeah, that's a problem. I mean, it's not a problem, but yeah. Hi.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm doing great. I have actually done a whole podcast where I didn't see my interviewer, like who I was interviewing. She was in this whole state of like painter mode, and she was like, I'm in my pajamas. I look a hot mess. She's like, can we just like not do it? I was like, yeah, dude, I could talk at a wall. So
Nice.
yeah.
Well, speaking of walls, I gotta ask, is that really your wall behind you?
It is.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
It's
I have
blurred, so I was just curious.
Yeah, I have it fuzzed out because I have been criticized before. The flat line, the horizon that you see here is a bed, like yours, like normal people who have regular homes that don't have whole rooms dedicated to recording audio.
You mean you don't have a podcast specific office?
Not that fancy yet, my friend. So
No, that makes you real.
well, that's what I always thought. That's why
Yeah.
that was the whole nature. That's the whole nature of the show. I always felt like all these other shows, it gives somebody something to aspire to and to learn from and stuff. But I felt like there needed to be a connector space for people to feel like they can see themselves doing it and what it feels like to not be there yet. And I've been around a lot of dope tattoo artists. I do not feel like I am of the caliber that they are. But that people always say that, like, you admire other people and you don't really, claim the things that you do. So I guess something, I think it was just divine intervention that put me there, just so that I could, see what I was entering into in a really potent way and meet some of the most elite people in it and judge for myself. And but yeah, I've interviewed people that were that elite, and he wasn't a tattoo artist. He was a person who did more of the business side of it. And he was like, "Oh my God, you have a bed in the back." And I was like, "Is that gonna be an issue?"
Yeah, that's a weird thing to be weird about.
I said, on the upside, this is one of my spare bedrooms that I offer to any guest that comes over my house. Like, I offer free room and board to any client that's traveling from out of town if they want to stay here instead of spend money on a hotel. I mean, it's a cat house, so if you're not cat friendly, then I can't accommodate you. But and also any tattoo artist that's visiting, I don't have a studio that I can really lend out like that because it's private now. But before, when I was a part of a bigger studio, I offered my home for anybody that was coming to visit the studio and do a guest spot. So for me, it was like you said, it's real, it's human. People have beds and rooms. Like, it's
I actually wasn't even focused on the bed. I was just focused on the blurriness of the art. Yeah, the artwork. Yeah.
Oh, I am I'm so bad. Let me see if I can
No, you're good.
um so while I'm trying to I'm gonna before we disconnect here, I'm gonna try an attempt to show you the back. It's some of it's my artwork, some of it's artwork that I've collected throughout the years that are really cool. But yeah, there's some cool stuff back there. That's pretty nice. I use Zoom for so many things. Like I did I did a like a accounting course through CCBC and stuff like that. So I didn't know how much I didn't want to be distracting is what it was.
Sure.
So I blurted out, and then other venues I've just been like, you don't really need to see it. You know, it's implied.
No, it looks good. It looks
Yeah.
good, but there's like those new like filter apps that like create a false background that's not even. So I had to ask if it was actually your background, like real. So
It smooths there is a filter on me. It's one that kind of smooths things out a little bit. So you can't see all
oh
my pores. Um,
oh
I'm pretty desperate right now. I'm not gonna lie. We're this actually is my husband and I's first year anniversary of our wedding. So
hey, congrats.
thank you, thank you. So we took the day. We're sleeping in. We have a sick kitty, and he is just a hot mess. And so our whole morning is just cleaning up after him and dealing with him. And then we have a dinner plan together later. But we keep it really chill. I'm injured, so he's like, it doesn't have to be anything, babe. You know, we're just kind of keeping
Right.
it slow. So when people tell me that, I'm not leaving my pajamas. I put a hat on for you, so I wouldn't be too deplorable. But
I'm
it's still
sure
a
it was
mess.
fine. I'm sure it was fine. I put a hat on too.
Yeah, see, it's
Uh-huh.
like, it helps. All right, so I'm gonna attempt your name. You tell me if I say it right.
Oh, good job. Yeah.
Elo Solari.
Yeah.
All right, yay. And I'm getting
Yeah.
better.
Good
Getting better.
job.
Where do you work? I didn't see that on your socials, and I apologize.
Well, I'm not. It may not be made public. I work at a tattoo shop called Youth Gone Wild Tattoo Company.
I think it did say
Um,
that. I wasn't sure if that was the name of the studio.
yeah, yeah.
Very
I've been there
cool.
for 3 years now, and
Awesome.
yeah.
Do you get a lot of wild youth in there?
Um, I mean, the crew is kind of wild and youthful. I think my partner and I are the oldest ones that work there. So
Awesome. And that leads me into my classic question that I usually ask first. How long have you been tattooing?
just over 4.5 years. Just
Awesome.
just
Awesome.
under February will be 5 years. So
You're
yeah,
really
just
good
over.
for that. I mean, I don't mean to
Well,
belittle
thank you.
4 years,
No,
but
no.
like, you know,
Thank you.
you're very good.
I sometimes don't see it similar to like you made a comment when we started about, getting to know artists that like were leaps and bounds ahead of you, elite status and like I'm trying to be like a sponge, right? So like I try to soak up all I can and I don't always see my progression. And I will doom zoom the shit out of my work and like some people, the average standard client is not going to see what I'm seeing. Some tattoo artists may not even see what I'm seeing, and some tattoo artists will see more than I see.
Yeah.
And I put my art up in a group one time and wanted to quit. Like it was horrible, and it was so bad. And I didn't think it was a bad tattoo. And but like I think that growth or that seeing that progression is difficult because of all the doom zooming I do on my work, and then I'm always my perspective and my what I'm trying to reach with my artwork and where I'm trying to aspire to be is
Mhm.
always reaching. It's always growing, and so the artist that I was looking up to like 10, 20 years ago, they're not necessarily the same artists I'm looking up to these days. So
Yeah.
my style is always improving, hopefully, based on the homework I'm doing and the people I'm inspired by. And if that's continually evolving, then I'm constantly judging my work against people who are leaps and bounds ahead of me. And so I sit there and I just want to break my own hands half the time. And
Well, you're doing it
um,
right. That's the way you should do it.
I guess.
No, it is. They say that you're only as good as the people who surround you. So if you know that you're, maybe on par with the people that you work with, are you're an older or senior artist, then, um, the truth of the
Oh,
matter,
shoot. What's happening?
you froze a little bit. Can you
Is that
still hear
me?
me? Perfect.
Oh, are we back?
Yeah, it
Okay.
happens.
I don't know what that was about. I went off Wi-Fi. I took off Wi-Fi, and
It was like,
hopefully,
no.
yeah, no, hopefully that helps.
Oh, okay, good. Wonderful.
So,
No, what
so
I
what were
was,
you saying?
oh, I was saying, you know, you shouldn't, baseline well, I mean, I shouldn't tell anybody what to do, but I feel like the reason why people really get excited about coming to a certain artist, it's not just the work they do, it's the excitement they have for the work they do. And
Right.
I feel like an artist like you who constantly is pushing and wanting to scale, that adds a level of gravity to what you're bringing to the table for your client and impassions them. It can educate them and stuff like that. So that's what you're supposed to do. You're not supposed to rate yourself of the people that are around you, or the people that are, you don't stop anywhere and be like, oh, it's good enough. Not if you're a real, I guess, artist or passion. You should keep pushing. My one teacher used to always say, like, you're not done till you're dead. Like if
Right.
you really love this, you're gonna love it, and you're gonna keep going and going and going until the day you die, or until you're not able to. So you're doing it right. That's the way you should do it. So that's great. And you're very prolific about doing artwork outside of tattooing too, that I've seen. You post things that you do yourself, that you're exploring. So as far as I can tell, you're doing all the things that you should be doing.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you seeing that. There's, I mean, while I've only been tattooing 4.5 years, um, I've loved tattoos since before I was 18. I got my first one at 18, and I've just really loved the artwork. And while I haven't been in a shop that whole time, like I just turned 49, so if that gives any sort of timeline math.
You look good
Um,
too. My God, dude, I would
Thanks.
never have guessed that you're a year before 50. You look
Oh
great.
yeah,
Your
yeah.
beard's looking dope, dude. You don't have any
Thank you.
gray that I can really,
No,
maybe
no, I
one.
do. We're zoomed out. We're zoomed out. I got it's there.
It's impressive.
Um,
Good on you.
uh, but like seeing the shift and the transition in how tattooing is shifting as like as a community, or I don't really know that I like the word industry, but as an industry, as what it is in American culture. Like I've seen it shift just as a bystander before I even came into it. I mean, I got my apprenticeship. I worked through my apprenticeship, pushing for an apprenticeship right before COVID, and then was brought on like in the end of 2020. And so uh, I'm a part of that generation of tattoo artists, but I'm older, so it's really weird. Like there are people that I've seen who think I've been tattooing much longer because of my chronological age.
Mhm.
Um,
Which you can't tell.
because right, but yeah, but and it's weird to be in a shop with various different. This is my third shop since I started tattooing, and I was in several shops beforehand trying to push for an apprenticeship. But surrounded by these kids that are like, anywhere from 18 to 24, 25, and the ethics are totally different. Like I come from a working background, like, and there's a lot of artists that I don't necessarily feel they understand what working really is.
What did you do? I'm curious.
Well, so I mean, I grew up in a it's kind of a small suburban neighborhood just south of Portland, Oregon, and I was brought up in a middle class, blue collar sort of household, and my parents just always pushed me to get a real job, get a good job, and get that 401k and retire nicely, whatever that means. And so I had a lot of odd jobs for a while, just trying to figure out why am I not fitting in here and there. And meanwhile, my grandma's in the background saying, Dark Horse Comics is right down the road, and I know you can draw. Go back, try to get on there. And
Bless her.
she was the only one that really had that confidence in me, and she had it more than I did. And but I got into, I got where do I start? So floundering through life, I ended up getting sober at some point. I just back in June celebrated 21 years of
That's
you know
amazing.
sobriety and some sort of recovery, I suppose. And through that process, I ended up getting an undergrad in human development,
Oh,
and
right on.
I worked for almost a decade in mental health care in Oregon on a 16-bed inpatient unit.
Wow.
Um, and I was let go of that job at some point because I was pushing for everybody to get a raise. My dad for the company he worked for, he was the shop steward and he was unionized. And I
Yeah.
took that same mentality into a private company that was not unionized, and they quickly showed me what that looks like, and that looked like unemployment. And but I had worked for that company for about 8 or 9 years, and
Wow.
it was fantastic. I thrive. At the time, I thrived working with people with various forms of schizophrenia, and that was my go-to clientele back then. The company themselves, it was horrible. There was a lot of dismissiveness, and they didn't treat their employees right, and it was a struggle, seeing being on a team where there's nursing students uh, literally living out of their cars because nobody had seen any sort of wage increase in over 7 years.
Oh, wow.
Um,
Wow.
and it was rough to watch, and so that's why I just kind of pushed and pushed, and I pushed too hard, and
Do they
and it
exist
was
today?
yeah, yeah, they're still
Wow.
around.
That's
Um,
surprising.
yeah, they've got multiple locations, but that was the nudge. I was keep coming back in my life in the last like year to this story, and it's often referred to as like this Chinese proverb or whatever, the proverb of maybe. And I don't know, that's what I call it. I don't know if you've heard of it or not.
No, but
Where it's where when something happens in life, and then so it's the Chinese farmer, something happens to his crop or his horse runs away or something, and they're like, oh, the villagers are like, oh no, that's horrible. And he responds, maybe. And
hmm,
then the horse that ran away comes back 3 days later with like six new horses that are wild. And they're like, oh, you got new horses. That's amazing. He's like, maybe.
maybe.
And then one of them breaks his son's leg. And like, that's terrible. And he's like, maybe. And then the military comes to recruit, but they don't recruit his son because he's got a broken leg. So it's like this constance of maybe, of like, I was complaining a lot about my job. And while I can sit here and still complain about it, how that was kind of rough watching and seeing it and going through that, like, it wasn't a bad thing because it was a nudge I needed to get to where I'm at today. Like, everything is flow, right? And
Yeah.
so, like, I worked with this guy, Chad, and I love that dude. That dude is a fantastic dude. And we would talk. He used to be a radio DJ in Idaho, and he was working as a recovery specialist, just like me. And he kept talking anytime the clients would have a thing happen or a problem or whatever, want to talk stuff. He would always bring it back to music and have these fantastic analogies about music. And I told him, I said, "What are you doing here, man?" And he goes, "What do you mean?" I'm like, "Dude, your heart is in music. Like, why aren't you a DJ still?" Like,
Right.
and he's like, "Well, that doesn't always pay the bills, and this allows stable income for me." Um, and and he goes, "And I could say the same thing about you. Like, you're constantly running art groups and talking about how you want to be a tattoo artist." And I mean, this is back in like 2009, 2010, and he's like, you're constantly talking about wanting to be a tattoo artist, and you're drawing all the time, and you're doing the art groups and this and that, and he's like, "I'll tell you what, you follow your dream, I'll follow mine." And
Praise God
like,
for Chad.
what? Yeah, right. So while I was still there, not sure how to get into tattoo, Oregon's got a whole different set of
Oh,
laws,
I know.
you know.
And I want you to go into that if you get a chance. But yeah.
I mean, yeah, I mean, for the listeners who don't know, like you pretty much have to go to tattoo school, which is 15K out of pocket, or you have to tattoo out of state for 3 consecutive years within a particular timeline, and then you can take their state exam and transfer and all that. And so at the time I was just like, I'll look into the school thing, and I could have maybe gone across the river to Washington. I wasn't sure at the time. It seemed like all shops were closing their doors to Portlanders, because when that shift happened, like Vancouver, Washington got flooded with like artists trying to get their apprenticeships. And so fast forward a year, I'm still working in mental health care, and I don't really have an avenue of how to go about it. And Chad now has business cards and a website, and he's like, "I started booking weddings, man." And fast forward another year, he was booked out like a year and a half,
Wow.
like
That's so
solidly,
great.
like still working the mental health care.
Mhm.
And he's booked out, like, I think it was like 9 months to a year and a half,
Wow.
depending on which day I asked him. And so it was like, there was a little bit of fuel that I needed. I was like, shit, I got to get on this. Like, let's go.
Yeah.
And so I ended up getting fired from that job. And then liquidated my 401k just because I was
Wow.
burnt out. Like, that job came with some serious trauma. Like, I witnessed some really wicked things. At some point I was held hostage. Like, there was some scary moments. And so I just needed a break from all of it. And so I dumped my 401k, and right before all that happened, like, I was going through some other shit. My dad had passed. My ex-wife had left about 2 months after that, and I was just in the shit.
Oh, jeez.
It was rough. It was rough.
Dude.
And I talked to a tattoo artist who I met in recovery, who wasn't from the area, but he moved to the area, and really solid work. Great, seemed like a great guy.
Right.
And I was like, "Hey, just riffing here. Like, what's it take to get into tattoo, man?"
Mhm.
And he was just like, "Yeah, don't." And I was like, "What?" And he goes, "Like, I'm not asking like for permission. I'm just wanting to know, what does it take? Like, how do you even start into that?" He goes, "Stop asking, man. Like, we don't have time for hobby artists. There's no room in tattooing for you." Like, just straight, just freaking just knocked me down. And so I was talking to my wife, my separated wife at the time, and I was like, kind of fuck that guy. Like, who stands in the way of someone's dream, let alone just inquiries, like just having a
Yeah.
conversation.
Not to mention somebody who's helping him recover, you
And
know.
so, well, I don't
Like,
know if I was doing that, maybe, but
I mean, you were
I,
there.
sure.
Yeah,
And
no, that matters. Like,
right.
you know,
So I have this, I don't know, boundary or ethic in life where if I will never, I will, if I can't say it to your face, I'm not going to say it behind your back.
it's a good ethic.
Right.
Hmm.
And I realized I'd said that behind his back. So I had a call with him and I
Good for
said, "Hey,
you.
I got to be honest with you about something, man. I was talking to my ex, and the topic of what we talked about came up, and I remember I said something to her, and I realized like I don't need it to get back to you. I need you to hear it." And he's just like, "Sure." And I'm like, "So I don't talk shit behind people's back unless I can talk to their face." So I mean, so basically, what I told her was like, "Fuck that guy." And he got genuinely pissed, and he was like, "What the fuck do you say?" And I was just like, "Yeah, I mean, like who are you to like really squash somebody's dream or potential dream
Right.
when I'm just asking questions?" And he got all huffy and all high and mighty and like, "Who are you to, you know, you crossed a line, blah blah blah." And I haven't been friends with that guy since. And he ran his mouth about me, ran my name into the ground for a while, whatever. And but that was the fuel I needed. So like,
Mhm.
was that a bad thing? Maybe. Like it really
I think I have the
it
title
really
of this podcast.
yeah, maybe.
Maybe.
Uh so he I pushed harder than ever before. And I didn't at the time. So my kid was at that time with my estranged wife, and he was only like a year and a half. And this, for the timeline purpose, this is about 2012, 2013. And uh I was like, I can't move. I just can't move right now. My son needs
Yeah.
me,
Yeah.
and I don't know how to do this. So I started a GoFundMe, and I was trying to crowdfund for tattoo school. And the more I pushed into that, I was having a difficult time because everybody had a GoFundMe and like whatever. It was hard. Like I was working. Yeah, I didn't. So at that time, I hadn't quite got fired yet. But it's all kind of blurred together there. I think I got fired in 2016, but I was still trying to get this crowdfund thing going. I was working that job. I was also doing Uber, and I was selling weed on the side, for a friend, and while being sober, and it was just weird. And I was
Wow.
like, what the fuck am I doing? And so fast forward, I started working in cannabis when I got
Mhm.
fired from that job. I was not sure how I was going to manage anything. I could barely put food on the table. And um, a couple friends in a 12-step program owned a cannabis farm. And they're like, I had an interview and they gave, yeah, like I've worked on 3 farms and they've all been owned by people in recovery. It is the
Wow.
wildest thing. It is wild. And so I I ended up living in Oregon. As a big cannabis advocate back in the day, I was bummed when I got sober and then it became legal. But I found out that when I grow it, because I started growing personal plants in my place, and I was just giving it to friends or whatever, and that the growing it, the gardening of it, there was some magic that happened for my for
Yeah.
my my mental health, and
Yeah.
I loved doing that. And now I live in a state that I can't do that. So, um,
It's funny,
but
my
uh,
husband gave up weed right when it became legal here. And everybody's like, "What the hell's wrong with you?" And he's like, he started microdosing mushrooms and he was
okay,
able to reflect on how it made him feel. And he was like,
yeah,
I think this stuff is really bringing me down. And I was
Yeah.
like, you don't say. And he said, I
Yeah.
don't think I want to do it anymore. And he
There
just,
was a time there was a time in my recovery where I tried it again, and I realized it was a lot of effort to find the right strain that leveled me out.
Mhm.
I was either super paranoid, like curled up in a ball, like just a scared little boy, or I was completely worthless on the couch in a puddle, like no
Nothing.
creativeness,
Yeah.
nothing, just zoned out. And I was like, this isn't working for me. Um, and that was a short-lived experiment. But
Well, you,
however,
and then you got into growing, and then it just ignited this whole
yeah,
other.
and I love growing it. Oh my gosh, it is so fantastic. Um, and so at this time, I'm working all these odd jobs. Nothing's sticking. I don't know how to create this cash flow for tattoo school, which on every angle seemed like a big ripoff.
It
Like,
is. That is a big
but at
ripoff.
the same time, like if I'm stuck in Oregon, like I've got to figure out how to make this work. And like I mean,
Can I pause you
15.
for 1 second? Do they
Yeah, yeah.
expect you to pay it up front 15,000, or is it like
So it's
semester, or how does it go? I'm
every
just
no,
curious.
so it's all out of pocket. There's no like it's not like
Yeah.
community college where you can get like student aid or anything. Um, and most of the schools I found, it was like anywhere from 60 to 80% check in
Down.
hand first day.
Wow.
And then monthly installments until it's paid off, and you can't get licensed until it's paid off. Um, and
Wow.
yeah, and so
Okay.
and some of the schools, depending on your ability to catch on to the information, um, you would either be dumped out at 4 months or 9 months. Like it was barely like most of the programs had barely a year program.
Would you say that
And
it's a barrier to entry kind of thing? Um, those things in
what do you mean?
states? Well, I always I come from the hair industry, and so I know the history of all that, and I'm also a licensed master barber. And I was apprenticed under my father first, and people have a lot of eh, thoughts about school and about regulation, and I'm all for like mild stuff, like things that are like you should know certain things, like no problem with bloodborne pathogen, no problem with CPR, like base level stuff that if you're gonna work very intimately, closely with people, sure, you should know that. Especially if you're opening up their blood, if they might have a medical issue when you're in their presence. Sounds like you had probably had a lot of that stuff already coming to the table, plus probably some other things that you already had to your accolades just in your previous life working.
Sure.
My whole thing is people see a piece of paper on a wall that says you did something or you graduated from something and they think they're safe. It's this false sense of security. And that's the whole projection is we're doing this to make it safe. We're doing this to make sure
Yeah.
that everything is safe. But what it really ends up being at the end of the day, I think once the very dedicated, passionate hearts that initially make the regulation that are really trying to safeguard the industry, that word, um, then it becomes this money making thing that ends up being a restriction, a barrier to entry. Like, we don't
Oh,
want
I
but
gotcha.
so many people doing this, really. And we're going to withhold information unless you're willing to dev this out. And it's really sad with tattooing because tattooing was something that, you could come out of jail. And if you had, redeemed yourself and like was really trying to start over, that was not a place where you could go in and they would be like, screw you, you're a felon or whatever. They'd be like, okay, let's see what you got, man. And they give you a
Yeah.
broom and they'd say, you're gonna clean up after us for however long we say, and then maybe we'll put a machine in your hand. But it was something. It gave you something, and
Yeah,
this was
I
never
think
that.
there's a stigma around uh um education versus institution.
Mm-hmm.
So like if your car needs fixing and somebody says I'm a mechanic versus I went to school for mechanics, who are you picking?
Right.
By default, stigmatic default, you're probably going to go with the person who went to school. Um, doctors, we automatically assume a doctor went to school because it's ingrained in us, right? But if we didn't know, and it was a difference between a doctor who went to school versus a doctor who came from mom's basement, like you're probably going with the school guy.
I mean, I'm a weirdo, so I can't comment on what most people do. I just had the other day I was
Right.
at church and I was talking about just stuff that I went through going through my dad's hair salon. And I mentioned that I had a natural gift for massage. I've never trained in it. And one of the girls was like, "Oh my God, do you still like it?" And I was like, "Yeah." And she was like, "I'm having you over my house." She's like, I love people who just like doing it. They're the best. They're the best. And I was like, "Oh, that's cool." She goes, "I don't care if you don't know what you're doing. That's awesome." Like,
That's
whatever.
because it sounds like she might have the love language of physical touch, and she's
Yeah.
like, "Oh, you like to touch people? Let's go."
Yes. Yeah. She
Um,
noticed something by taking a leap and how
yeah,
necessary that is. And same with you. It already in just listening to you. One, you're very good at communication. You have a natural ability with people who might be a little, you know, on the out there side. You can follow them, track them, be with them. It doesn't make you uncomfortable. All these things are such great things for being a tattoo artist, just like base level, like
yeah,
base level. Because everybody starts with the art, and the issue is that most artists suck with people. They suck. They're horrible
yeah.
with people, and they got to
Well,
learn the people
I
part.
haven't always been the greatest. I've had my
Well,
defaults
some people
reset
suck,
sometimes. Yeah,
some people do
I've
suck.
had I've had a few situations. Maybe one situation in tattoo where I was like, oh, that was not good. Um, just in the way I communicated, and it came back to bite me in the ass a couple years after, and work through that. But where I was leading was with the tattoo school is like I started noticing, like I was paying attention, not as much as my drive to get into tattoo was like being met with roadblocks here and there. Like um I was seeing shops that were hiring, and they underneath it would say not hiring graduates. And I was like, why is a state that requires you to go to school have shops that don't require that won't hire you if you're a graduate? So I started to inquire basically, and just paying attention and reading articles and looking at, like listening to conversations online and around town, and I was like, I don't know what my path is, but I need to be I need to be better than what I'm hearing. And I had this experience. Met somebody online. I was a part of a couple different private Facebook groups that were kind of all centered around self-care and healthy selfishness, and how do you better yourself, and all this stuff. And I was struggling with a lot of that shit that was, that I've already outlined. And this gal who I had only met a couple times or seen in this group a couple times, she lived in Nevada, and she said, "Hey, I want to, Merry Christmas. I want to give you something, if you want it." And I said, "What's going on?" And she said, "I got these tickets to this thing called World Domination Summit, and it was have you heard of it?"
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
so
It's
it has since
huge.
yep, and it has since discontinued. They did 10
Yes.
years, and I went on. So she had tickets for the 8th year, and
Wow.
I was like, "You're just giving these to me?" She's like, "Yeah, I really think like the things you share online and in that group. I think this will help. I really do. I think it'll kind of do something, shift something for you." And I'm like, "Fuck it, let's go." So I looked up a link on YouTube about World Domination Summit, and I fucking cried. Like I was like, there is no way there's this much beauty in a community. Like what? Like it
Yeah.
had me in tears. Like I'm about to join something that is beyond words. And so I said, sure, I will accept this gift. That's cool. If and she's like, you don't. She's like, I'm going as well. You don't have to kick it with me. We don't have to hang out. But but I want you to have the tickets and you do your thing. Like okay.
Praise
We
God
ended
for
up
her.
we ended up spending the weekend together, and uh, she was awesome. And uh, we shared a hotel room so that it was easy to just get to the thing instead of having to drive cross town every morning or whatever. Because I at the time I lived about 40 minutes away, and traffic sucks. And
Yeah.
so we're posted up downtown Portland, and I do this WDS World Domination Summit thing, and it was for those who don't know what that is. It was about three to 5,000 people, maybe,
Mhm.
all coming together. That was centered around groups on how to better yourself and how to make that shift, and people living in their passion. And they would do. There's this website called Meetup. If nobody's familiar with it, it is
I
where you meet up with people who have similar interests. So it can be anywhere uh, from sex positivity to drum circles.
Yeah.
Basically, it
Yeah.
can be kayaking or hiking or whatever.
Mhm.
And I involved myself in many aspects of community with that website, and they were using it. World Domination Summit was using that to further their platform. So I could be an attendee to World Domination Summit and create a meeting through Meetup. If I wanted to like teach or demonstrate like guided meditation,
Right.
so I could do that, and then people could sign up during this whole event that was like a 5-day event.
Wow.
And
That's
I
so
didn't
cool.
I didn't create a meetup for that group. I just wanted to go and experience it. I didn't
Yeah.
want to be in charge of anything. And I attended workshops on play, like how to play in the workplace and make your life playful. Um,
Aw. That's so
I probably
great.
need I probably need to revisit that. I've become a very grumpy old man.
I'm good with
However,
that. If you
uh,
need some boosts. I grew up with
yeah,
my father was my mentor first. And one thing about my dad, I just said this to him recently, because whenever you meet him, he's got at least one joke for you. And so I said to him recently, I was like, Dad, when you get to heaven, which I have no doubt that he's going there. I said, I hope Jesus has a really nice joke to tell you, like bone chuckling, even though you want bones, but like just earth
right, right,
shattering good humor. But yeah, my dad was so playful always. I mean, and
nice,
such a good teacher as a result of that, because he always made it fun and you could fail with him and it wasn't a problem. He was like, I say, yeah, people fail. It's cool. Whatever. We're gonna move on. So that's great. If you need a little boost, I'm good for that.
nice.
Might not be as good as my dad. Just because I'm a woman and I do think that affects the funny a little bit.
I
But
don't know that it does.
I don't know. I mean, I try to be playful, but I get grumpy too. My hormones,
Sure.
especially now, are pretty wild.
Yeah. Yeah. So like there's all these workshops and like I was a part of so many different fun workshops that were like re-energizing, like this idea of just living in the moment. There was a fantastic coach, Sarah Ness. She does workshops around like inner truth type stuff. I don't know if she still does, but the one I went to was like these. You kind of get super deep with your questions and your answers, and then like at some point, everybody like we had to take a break, and we turned to the person to our left, and we gave them a hug if they wanted it,
Aw.
and we learned how to hug, and being a part of different groups that like really dive into that like that truth telling, that inner personal truth telling, was fascinating, and I got to meet people who, like, there's one person who uh, gets paid to travel and blog their experience. I don't know how you find these jobs or how you create these jobs and who pays you, but I was fascinated by it. I'm like, wait, you just travel all the time? They're like, yeah. Like, how does that work? They're like, well, I blog about my experience and I get paid for it.
Mm-hmm.
But there was no like roadmap on how that gets to happen, you
Right.
know, and maybe I'm just a little slow on the uptake at times, but it was fascinating. So I got to witness 3,000 people coming together in the joy of trying to shift into their passion. And there was a quote around that same time that really hit home, and I can't remember quite who said it. I want to say it was uh, Eric Thomas. Uh, he said, "Go where you're celebrated, not where you're tolerated."
I'm gonna look it up and you keep talking.
Yeah, I think it's from Eric Thomas. It is
Okay.
either him or C.T. Fletcher, but I think it was Eric Thomas. And he says, "Go where you're celebrated, not where you're tolerated." And so I had this just mind blowing experience. I'm on cloud nine, and I go back to work to one of these cannabis farms, and my manager was having a grumpy morning, and he's like, "I was 5 minutes late. First off, it's cannabis. Slow down." Um, and the guy goes, "Oh, there's Elo, 30 minutes late again." And I'm like, "No, it's 5 minutes, and it's just weed, bro. Like, calm down." And like, well, how are you gonna be at me about 5 minutes late? And so I was like, I just came off this really amazing weekend. I don't need your bullshit right now. And he goes,
Good for
and
you.
he just looks at me. He goes, "Cool, get the fuck out. I'll see you tomorrow." And I'm like, "What?" And he goes, "Fucking leave, go." And I was just like, okay. And as I'm walking to the car, I had this thought: I don't think I'm coming back. And so now I just quit a job without anything else other than this half-ass Uber job that was barely affording me my car maintenance. And I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do now, but I just quit my job. Okay. And that's something I've done once before, you know? And so it
Feels
was
good, doesn't it?
it was 4th of July weekend. I didn't know what I was doing. And I knew that the person that I just spent the weekend with was amazing.
Independence Day.
I
That's
was like,
pretty dope.
I'm gonna drive 9 hours and go surprise her for 4th of July real quick. And that maybe not have been a good idea. But because I didn't know her situation really. And so I surprised her and I drove all the way down to Nevada, and she was like, "What are you doing here?" I'm like, "I just quit my job. Like, I don't know what WDS had over me, but I just quit my job because I was feeling tolerated and not celebrated." And so it's 4th of July weekend. Thought I'd surprise you, watch some fireworks with you, and then figure out what I'm going to do after that. So while I'm down there, she introduces me to a tattoo artist,
Oh wow. Well, that's
and
cool.
he's like, "Hey, if you are thinking of moving down here, I'll I could consider apprenticing you." I was like, "All right." He's like, "But you're gonna have to get a job first because apprenticeship's no pay, and
Right.
you need to pay your bills, and you need to have a decent work ethic." And I'm like, "Cool, bet." And
Do you want to know who
I
said it? At least the AI says. It
sure,
says you were close because you said Eric Davis, right?
no, Thomas.
Okay, it's Paul F. Davis apparently said it. And
Okay.
apparently Kid Rock has parroted it before.
Okay.
But yeah, AI, I don't know, maybe.
Uh, yeah, and so I I looked into getting a job, um, and I applied for this state job, and they're like, "You know what, we appreciate it, but it looks like the spot was just filled." and it was for like a disability specialist, similar to what I was doing, but instead of people with mental health stuff, it was physical disabilities and trying to get the right resources to them.
Gotcha.
Job. And okay, uh, what am I going to do? And I ended up, before leaving, there's a whole set of like synchronistic circumstances that I could go into the fine detail, and probably none of it really matters. Maybe. But basically, when I got back home to Portland, I got a phone call that next Monday from the state organization, and they said, so that person we hired didn't show up to their first day. Do you want an interview? And I said, yeah. Mm-hmm. So they gave me the interview and they hired me on the spot.
Wow.
And I was like, I need some time so I can give my work, so I can, figure it all out and get there. Yeah. Transition. Thank you. And I did. And then 5 months into that, the tattoo artist, like, I'm going to put my work more into my band. And so he had like this, it wasn't like a work scheduled thing. Like, he had a private studio that was, he was almost never there, and he would never tell me when his clients were going to be there. So like, I had to guess when he was going to be there. Like, anytime I went there, doors were locked. So it was kind of a pain in the ass. And I went through all that, moving to Nevada. So, because I decided, after, when I had left, at some point, I had broke down and got stuck in Nevada through this process. And then before I took the job, and in that process, I realized that my son and I are strong in distance as well. And so I can move to Nevada. It's a day's drive.
Yeah.
If I need to be back. And so 6 months, 6 months in, now this guy doesn't want to apprentice me. And I learned from people in the town, like, oh yeah, he's done that to like 5 or 6 people in the last like 4 years. And I'm like, okay, what is universe, God? What are you trying to show me? What are you trying to tell me? And, from what I could understand, it was just that I had the strength to keep pushing forward. Right. And so, now that that's fallen through, my current partner wasn't my current partner. I met her in 2017 from that same private Facebook group, and she's been watching me go through this patiently and quietly, just watching me go through the upheavals of life. She watched it when just all of it, all the bullshit, and she goes, hey, I know a guy. And I was like thinking, I just heard this same story. I know a guy, move out here, blah, 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 get a job, yada, yada, yada.
Yeah.
And I was like, Minnesota, though? Like, that's further than Nevada.
Yeah.
That is further than a day's drive to see my son.
Yeah.
So I hop on a call with this shop owner. Sounds good. I said, fuck it. And I load my car up like a month later. I give my boss, who I told I was going to be there for 5 years with the state, thinking I was going to be an apprentice for 5 years, work for the shop for 5 years. And, I work both jobs or whatever.
Right.
And I tell him, I got to be honest. I came here on false pretense. I'm trying to be a tattoo artist. I got to go, man. Yeah. And he's like, what the fuck, man? But that job was a type A job, and I'm a type B type guy. And so, yeah. So I was like, I need to thrive in my creativity, and this isn't working. And so I packed my car up, and in the process, like, my whole car shit out on me. My speedometer stopped working. My odometer stopped working. Everything stopped working. I got it to finally start working again, but nothing. Like, all my lights are on. I don't know how fast I'm going, and I just started driving. And I worked through Facebook to get homestays. So, like, community, like, offering up a bed, like, if you're traveling through, I got a bed here for you. And I had that throughout my whole trip out to the Midwest. It
Wow.
was like a 4-day drive or something like that, and it
Wow.
was really cool. I met some really cool people along the way, and it's really nice to feel that warmth of community. And some of it wasn't even direct, hey, I know you from Facebook. It was like, you know, meeting somebody on Facebook through someone else who said, hey, contact Fred, or hey, contact this guy,
Aw,
Zach.
that's
And
awesome.
yeah, and so it was really cool. And so I didn't get pulled over. I just paced all the big semis because they go
Good
the
way.
speed limit,
Hmm.
and made it out to St. Cloud and Minnesota, and worked for about a year at that shop before I realized either I just don't understand apprenticeships at the time, or I just felt like I was being taken advantage of for cheap labor.
Gotcha.
I had addressed my timeline in a way to get back to my son in a timely manner. And I understand the bullshit, like my angle of the bullshit. Like, I can't imagine a guy like me coming up to me today and saying, "Hey, I want to apprentice. Here's my work." And I say, "Yeah, we could probably work that." And then that guy says, "But I need to be back home by this time. Like, I need to be tattooing and back in Oregon in 3 years." Like, yeah, that's not how that works. And I didn't realize it at the time, but the guy didn't like correct me on it. And so I just felt like I was being taken advantage of for sweeping and mopping. And and ironically, here's a funny story that I would love to share with you. Uh, uh, Before I left that shop, a few months into working there, he was tattooing somebody, and we're talking about something like tattooing and tattoo removal and bodysuits and this and that. And I said, yeah, there's a dude I know back in Portland who was getting tattoos removed so he could get make room for more tattoos.
Hmm.
And the owner of the shop goes, is his name, and he named the guy that told me, we don't have time or place for you in this industry. And I said, I didn't say anything other than I know a guy who's getting tattoos removed. How did you pull that name out?
Yeah.
And he's from here. This was his hometown. He's not allowed back. He fucked up here. And I was like, wait, what the fuck just happened? Like, are you
Whoa.
telling me full circle just happened? Like
Yes.
I just found myself in this hometown of this dude who tried to, blacklist me in some way.
Maybe.
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 And so I was just floored, like, wait, what? And he goes, yeah, he's not allowed. Like, no tattoo shop that knows him will hire him in this town. And I was floored. And so I was like, this is a weird turn of events of information. And but
Wow.
as it turns out later on, I just felt like I wasn't, between that and COVID and really this simply just seemed like more delays in my returning to my son. As a
Yeah.
whole aspect was, one of the motivating factors to get into tattoo was um, to be a better provider for my son.
Yeah.
Like I was working all these odd jobs for corporations, getting all these other people rich. And I am by no means rich in that regards financially. I'm still in a lot of debt right now. But it was a way to get closer to providing for my son in
Right.
a comfortable way.
Right.
Like my child support debt is just dumb right now. And has always been dumb, I'm seeing the light at the end of the tunnel with that, um, and
That's great.
yeah, and
That's really great.
so I pushed,
I got a story for you once, like I don't know, but
yeah, yeah,
it doesn't stop even if you get into tattooing, because at certain points, if you're really good and, you get picked up by sponsors and things like that. My good friend Evan, he owns a shop in Rhode Island, and one day he's like, Amy, I'm kind of like feeling bad. I'm feeling really bad. And I was like, what are you feeling bad about? And he was like, well, you know, I love it when my wife and her, my kids come with me to these conventions, but because I'm sponsored, I got to go to a certain amount of conventions and I miss out on a lot, like I
Yeah.
miss out on moments that I don't want to miss out on. And, I'm having a blast. Like, I love this, I do love this, but I know I'm leaving her all alone and she's got these little kids and they're like, they're little kids. And on top of just missing out on parts, I'm just feeling kind of guilty and I don't know what to do. And it was a, it was a wonderful, vulnerable thing that he offered up to me. And I said, well, Evan, I I grew up in a small business family and my dad wasn't around a lot, like he wasn't there often, but he was there, when it mattered. I learned how to
Mhm.
ride a bike from him. I learned how to do very pivotal things with him. He always made time for me when it was really critical. And I said, and I see you do that too. And I said, listen, you got to think long term about these things because there's those moments when they're little and your wife, she always is so good. She always sends you like beautiful videos of your kids. Like if you're missing out on something or if she wants to share something with you, she's always sending you a clip of your kids. So you're both really such a good team that way. And I was like, I know you're not there. I said, but you're, at least as far as my experience, I never once made my dad feel bad for, I don't know, anything. He never missed the parts that were really the most critical. He was always there for those. And on top of it, he showed me that I could literally do anything I wanted because we owned our own
Mhm.
family business. And he showed me that if I had enough chutzpah and drive and I put myself to everything I wanted, I could do it. And I said,
That's what a lot of people
yeah,
have
yeah,
expressed to me that
yeah.
that's what I'm doing with my child, you
That's what
know?
you are. It is. It's huge. It's huge.
Yeah.
And that made him feel really good. He's like, well, now I feel a lot better. I said, well, good. You should. Because it's
Yeah.
amazing what you've created here and you shouldn't feel guilty. Like don't ever feel guilty for that. I was like, you're giving your kids something amazing that they're going to feel really good about later on in
Well,
life.
and to be fair, like that struggle is real. Especially I don't know Evan or his
He's awesome.
specifics, but
You might be able to catch him online. He has a show called Tattoo Dudes now that he does on
okay.
YouTube with Andy Large. It's Evan Olin. He's
Okay.
awesome. Yeah,
Yeah.
check him out. He's really a phenomenal. I mean, like he's one of the ones that I'm like,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
not worthy.
Right, right. Well, just like, you know, s you know, socially, men are conditioned to not, we're not conditioned to really open that vulnerable door.
Yeah,
And I might be speaking in generalizations right now, but like
I
that
think
is
that's sound.
difficult.
I think
I
that's a
think
sound
it's
thing.
very difficult, and men have a lot of uh burdened weight from society that gets put on them, and we're looked at often by our male peers as, weak if we even try to talk about it,
Shit, being an
and
artist
so
sometimes can be that way. Like just stepping
yeah.
into art can be that way
Yep.
for men. So, which is so weird because back in the day, they were the only people who did art. And it's just
Yeah.
such a weird, but anyway, I'm sorry.
No, no. And so like I get that fight. Like, I moved when I moved to Nevada, my son was 7. This January he'll be 15. And I haven't been able to make regular visits, but we do video calls weekly, and it's not the same. A couple years ago I asked him, oh, I was like, regardless of anything, like just that tunnel vision focus to like achieve my goal and get back to my son is so hard and strong. But like, while I was asking him, like, what do you want for Christmas? Like, is there something I can send you? Do you need anything? And one day, he finally came to me. He's like, okay, I got a small list. And this was a couple years ago. And he said, he named off a couple things like some comic books, some like action figures, things like that. And then he goes, and there's this thing, I don't know what it's actually called, but my friends call it fatherless football. And I'm like, what is that? And he goes, it's this device where you can throw the football and it comes back to you because you're not here.
Oh,
And I was like, how deep does that knife go? Like what? I was like, oh, that is
I
rough,
mean,
dude. And I
I'm gonna say
appreciated,
something. That's kind of it's both amazing and fucked up at the same time, the name of that football.
well, that's not what it's technically named. That's what his friends
Oh,
call it.
I was gonna say, like, whoa,
Yeah.
that is
No,
a
and
crazy name.
no, I was like, that is tough and rough, and I appreciate that you felt safe enough to say that to me. Like, you're right, I'm not there. Like I'm here right now and I get it. So,
Mm.
but yeah,
Did you get it for
so
him?
I no, I did not get it for him. I don't remember what I got him for him that year.
You're like, hell
But
no,
he
I didn't
but
get that.
but he is playing football now.
Oh, that's great. That's awesome. That's a good use of
Yeah.
energy for a young man.
Yeah, and so I ended up after that shop in St. Cloud, I ended up reaching out to a um pretty well known dude. I didn't know he was well known. Like if you're new to an industry or a community of things, you may not know a lot of the history. Like I don't know all the heavy hitters, and I ended up
Same. I've been
befriending a
doing it
guy.
17 years, and like people
Yeah,
are still like, you know, and I'm like, no. But go
I
ahead.
ended up befriending a tattoo artist, or who a tattoo artist befriended me and took me on as an apprentice. And when I mentioned the name to a tattoo artist friend of mine who was an apprentice at the time, he's like, "You got that, dude?" And I'm like, "I don't. I should probably do my homework."
It's probably
And
best you didn't know
yeah, dude. I mean, it
because
seemed like a
it's
a
very
decent guy.
refreshing.
Had been Yeah, it
It's
seemed
very
like a decent
refreshing.
guy and was tattooing as far back as like 98, 97, something like that.
Wow.
And and then some shit went down that was not on my end, and he just didn't have the wherewithal to apprentice me at that point. He's like, I
Oh,
just don't have the mental faculties to do it. I'm sorry, man.
oh,
And I was already set. This was out in Hudson here, and I was already set to move. I was gonna go look at an apartment, and while I was looking for an apartment, so hey, maybe, right? Maybe that was bad,
maybe.
maybe. So I go to check out this apartment that I had or had an appointment to look at, and the landlord had it down as a wrong day or something, and so he was when he realized that he was running late. So I was like, well, there's a tattoo shop right across the highway there. I'm gonna go check it out, and it happened to be the this newer shop, and walk in and there's one guy in there. There's multiple artists but only one guy on this one day. And I was like, hey man, I was like, yeah, I'm trying to get I'm looking at apprenticeships, and I was working with this guy down here. And he's like, oh yeah, well, good luck with that, and yada yada yada. And uh when the other guy then says, hey, I can't do this, a week later I called up Patrick, who I'd met at this shop Impulse, and I said, Pat, I know we just met, but my apprenticeship just got pulled out from under me, and I don't know what to do. Do you know anybody in the area?
Right.
And it's like, I don't. Are you asking me? And I said, I mean, I'm not, but if you have the space, that'd be
Right.
rad to talk about. And he's like, I don't, but let me see what I can come up with. And he called me. So then I go back to that apartment, like the next week or something, and to and sign the lease, because I figured St. Cloud was a small enough town with a lot of shops that all have drama with each other,
Hmm.
and I just didn't want to I didn't want to poke the bear on all that. And so I ended up like, okay, maybe Wisconsin's got a little bit more opportunity. Maybe. If anything, it's closer to Minneapolis.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So, and I know that there's opportunity there. And so I literally signed the lease, and 5 minutes after signing that lease, Patrick calls me. He's like, so I talked to the shop owner, and Patrick's been tattooing at that time like 23 years, and I talked to the shop owner, and there's space if you want to apprentice under me. I'm only here part time because I'm getting older, and I have a family. So if you want to be here, we start. I said, he goes, I'm here Thursdays, Fridays, and Saturdays. Uh, be here on Thursday. And I said, well, I'm moving. I just signed the lease just literally minutes ago, and I'm set to move in like the first part of December. I can be there December 10th. And he goes, cool. See you at 10 a.m. And I was like,
Whoa.
why? I said, can I ask why? He's like, honestly, I can't remember the last time I met somebody with as much persistence and like uh passion and perseverance as what you've been showing me with your story and everything. He's just like, I let's get you back to your kid, dude.
Wow.
And so I started at that shop, and the first day I got to Impulse, I picked up a broom, and he goes, "What are you doing?" And I said, "As an apprentice, I'm assuming I'm supposed to clean the fuck out of this place." And he goes, we'll sweep and mop at the beginning of every shift together, and at the end of every shift together. Like one of us will sweep, the other one will mop. But I want you to kind of, because he'd already done that, I think,
Right.
but before I got there. And he goes, but for now, I want you to just watch and ask questions from what you've told me. Everything that led you to here was all the bullshit of your first apprenticeship. So like all like the cleanliness, all the hazing and all the bullshit that people go through. He's just like,
Oh,
you've already done that part. You've paid your dues. I want you to hover. And within like 2 to 3 months, he had me on my own skin
oh,
and was teaching me. And then he
praise
got busy
God.
with some family stuff where some health stuff kind of creeped up on him that was unexpected, not for him personally, but within his family. And
Yeah.
he was distracted from teaching me more, and I feel like my apprenticeship actually fell short in many ways, my formal apprenticeship with him.
Yeah.
But like I will forever be in debt to the men and women who allowed those doors to swing open a little bit more, like the people that like like the guy in Nevada. I don't hate him. It
Right.
was just a
Yeah.
stepping stone to the next thing. The
Yeah.
guy in St. Cloud, I don't hate him. It just was a stepping stone and an unfortunate, like, emotional upheaval about, like, why can't we just get this going, right? Um, uh, everyone's just as seemed like every experience was a stepping stone to getting to me where I'm at,
Yeah.
and then within a year of working with Patrick, that shop, the owner closed shop because she wanted a shorter commute.
Right.
So she moved her shop to St. Paul.
Okay.
Um, in Minnesota, if you are licensed out of state, you have to do your 200. You have to do 200 hours all over again. You got to do like your apprenticeship all over, no matter what. Like Patrick couldn't even get grandfathered in. Working 23 years in the industry, he would have had to do an apprenticeship all over.
Whoa.
Yeah. So,
That's
and and
ridiculous.
it doesn't necessarily mean an apprenticeship. You just have to have a, a licensed tattoo artist sign off on 200 hours of work. And, and
All
so I was
right.
like, so, okay. So Patrick took that as a sign to retire, and he's doing his retired job as a para, and he
Oh,
loves
okay.
it. He loves it. He loves working with the school district, and I'm happy for him. And that's great. Um, And so then I got picked up by another shop, worked there for a year before shit kind of fell
I
south.
think I met
And that,
Patrick.
what's that?
I think I met Patrick. He's in Minnesota, right?
Patrick Ross?
Yeah, I've interviewed him on the show.
Oh,
Good
really?
dude. Really good dude. Very good
Okay.
dude.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, that was
we
my
didn't
that,
align on everything. He sent me, I'm so sorry, but like, wow, connecting. I mean, it is a small world with tattooing, like you end up meeting all these people. But yeah, I went to Weird Ink Society for a
okay,
guest
yeah.
spot, and they knew Patrick. Patrick came in. I met him. They're
Yeah.
like, this is a dude you need to know. Told me a whole bunch of great stories. I
Yeah,
said,
him and Pip are good friends,
yeah,
and they had Michaela working at Weird Inc. And she worked with Patrick at his shop that he had in Menominee.
yeah,
So that's
yeah.
crazy. That's good stuff.
I interviewed him. He was so great. He sent me, and I don't think he thought it would go this way, but he sent me the whole thing that Minnesota was doing the program in high detention centers for teaching tattooing. And
Hmm.
he said, like, he was like, isn't this great? And I'm like, no, this is very not good. And he was like, what? And I said, Pat, I would only think this is good if you left your job right now, which I know that was kind of his dream. Like he said, he's like, I really feel like this is the job for me. The job I'm doing. I've always wanted to work with, youth and
Hmm.
disabled people and everything. It just has always been something I wanted to do. And I know that he had been tattooing for like 20 some years top, like plus. And I was like, I would only feel good if a dude that was like fit like you, had the stature of you, and had been tattooing as long as you have doing this job. Because at the time, the job description was you needed 3 years to
Yeah.
teach in the detention
So
center. And I was like, fuck no. I was so mad. I even interviewed their health person, and I have this whole interview. She wouldn't let me record, but I called the episode Nan the Man because her name was Nan. I did a whole expose and I was really pissed about it. I know they do it, but like anyway, that's a whole segue. But I know Pat. He's such a great guy.
yeah, so kind of full circle to what you're talking about. So that position for the jails,
Mm-hmm.
the tattooing thing, the tattooing school in prison, it
Mm-hmm.
has potential to be great if they followed through with mentors like that who have been in the industry for decades with an extensive portfolio and an understanding. So their nobody met their qualifications, so they dumbed down, and the person that got hired had a year.
Oh well, I had a feeling it was going to be really a degeneracy. The woman was insufferable. If you could, I'll send you the link to what I was so mad, but what I had proposed, and this is something that I do think since you're not there, you're in Wisconsin, right?
Yep.
Um, I put out there. I told her, I said, listen, I've been to your state, and I know how freaking ridiculous it is to just work there for a week. It's $180 to just work there. And on the little form that you have to fill out, it says, are you a felon? So I don't know what would have happened if I said yes, if I would have been rejected to come to your state or not. But here you are, you're talking about teaching felons in prison. And meanwhile, somebody who is of another state, who's experienced, who wants to come to your state, you're taxing me $180 to get there to practice in your state legally, which by the way, I could just come and do it and get an Airbnb and not even fuck with any of this. I could, like, just so you
Right.
know, there is no
Right.
license in my state. I'm not leveraging my life in my state. So just so you
Mhm.
know, I'm being compliant. But you do that, and then you're teaching people in prison. I said, look, I am all about rehabilitation, but you already have a really good art program. I said that you already have. And that's what somebody needs when they're rehabilitating, when they're trying to show merit and all that stuff. And that's the kind of grind you got to have when you're trying to get into tattooing, a great portfolio. So you guys already have that. I said, and if you want to have an incentive or if you want to have a program, why don't you do a grant with already licensed operating tattoo shops that when a prisoner gets out under excellent behavior and as a
There's a
part of this
list of
art
shops,
right,
right?
there's an art program, and have a list of shops you can send them to and that you can pay for them to go to, benefit these studios that are already compliant, that are already doing everything they should, so that they can take a person and help you rehabilitate them, and they be in an environment with people who already know what they're doing and all. And basically her only answer is, we have a budget. Like, we have a budget we have to use. I'm like, well, give it back. Give it back. If you can't fulfill the budget, then give it back.
Right.
Because this is taxpayer dollars. After I just heard, I'm sick right now. I'm sick right now because what I told her was, do you understand how much of a slap in the face it is to a taxpayer who is grinding several jobs, busting their fucking ass trying to get an apprenticeship, and you are taking their money? You are taking their money and you're putting them into something with people who have already been proven to have antisocial personality disorder. Let's be for real. And you're going to give them a fast pass to this. And you're slapping somebody in the face who has never done anything like that. Never, ever, 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 ever would. You are actively kicking them in the dick. And she was like, it was like, I was like hitting a wall. I was hitting a wall with this woman. I said, listen, girl, I've had to do bloodborne pathogen every single year of my existence as a tattoo artist. And at that time, I think I was like 15, 16 years in. And I was like, there's a pie chart of bloodborne pathogen related diseases. Do you want to know the fraction that is due to tattooing? It's like a sliver. Do you want to know the big one? It's sex. If you want less health problems in your jail, then give out condoms. I doubt they'll use them. But see, that's my point. You want to teach somebody who needs to care so much about people how to tattoo in prison beyond just them. What's wrong about that for them? There's so much wrong about that for them. But you want to give somebody who, like, who knows if you gave condoms out, if they would be used or not, who knows? But that's the whole thing. You want to give people who've already been proven violent and antisocial the keys to something like this, and then send them out in the world where, by the way, you ain't give them a tattoo machine or any kind of thing to get into the business. So what are they going to do when they get out? Oh, dude, I was so mad. Maybe I just gave you a really good synopsis. You don't have to listen to it, but because it was just me ranting and pissed. But like, I was so mad. And Pat was like, why is this so great? He's so sweet. He's so optimistic. And again, I would have felt good about it if he had put himself up for the job. It was a good amount of money too. They were starting you at 70 grand, dude. Starting. That's insane. Yeah. Insane. But anyway, I'm sorry. Segue. I feel like it needs to be reiterated though, because there's other states who are going to be doing this, and I hope other tattoo artists listen. You have a really great story, and already all the maybes are aligning to like this moment, and it's I think it's pretty synchronistic and serendipitous. So yeah.
Well, and the most recent maybe was you're familiar with my recent story is in July I had a heart attack.
Yes.
And I was set to move back in August. I was supposed to already be there. I was supposed to have been physically there for my son's first football game, and the thought, well, maybe it's because something else is in the works. Mm-hmm. I'm a big fan that when the universe removes things from my life, it's because something greater than my plan is being devised.
Yeah.
And I don't know what that is, and I just get to be here for the ride. And I don't know. There's so many different anomalies and things in the world right now. Like naturally, like there's a lot of like movement happening with the volcanic activity and the earthquakes and all that on the Pacific Rim and that whole West Coast area.
Yeah.
And we were like, maybe we're supposed to not be there because it's about to blow the fuck up. Like
maybe they're coming to you. Maybe they're coming to you.
Maybe. I don't know.
I want you to go into your heart attack too, because even that, I mean, there's kind of no reason you're sitting here really. Like you had a widowmaker, didn't you?
Yeah, 90% blocked. Yeah. Oh. They said it was genetic primarily, but my lifestyle probably paid a little bit of contribution to that, and that's because I live right above the shop. So I wake up, I go to work, I go down a flight of stairs to work, I sit, I draw. If I tattoo, I tattoo. If I'm not tattooing, I'm drawing. If I'm
Not to
rarely
mention all the
leaving,
stress that you've
I'm
had
rarely,
prior.
yeah, I'm rarely leaving the shop in the event of a walk-in,
Mm-hmm.
because I'm trying to make my bills, as
Yeah.
well. Um, so I don't really, and it's a small town. Like I'm
Yeah.
in New Richmond, Wisconsin. It's I think like 10, maybe 10,000, 12,000, something. I don't know. It's
Okay.
tiny. It's a tiny town for me at least. And it's a country town, so I'm not getting. It's not, 40 minutes away is Minneapolis. It's more city stuff and more like, you know, big designs. I'm
Right.
doing a lot of like heart names and infinity signs, and it's
Right.
driving me crazy. Like I just want to do the artwork I want to do.
You should do a guest spot. You should do a guest. Weird Ink is very sweet. Like, I met Jordan and Pip, and they're lovely people. You should do a guest spot.
Yeah,
It'll make you feel better, and you'll learn a lot from them. They're solid. And Pip is an incredible designer. Like his
yeah,
graphic ability is just off the chain. Like he is, and then his cartoon ability is like very Matt Oatish. Like he does these great little. I mean, he's really talented. They're both phenomenal. Like you should think about
yeah,
doing,
yeah.
and they're really accommodating too. Like they really try to help you find lodgings there while you're there and all that good stuff. They're very sweet.
Nice.
Yeah, dude. I think you'd enjoy it.
Yeah, I'll look into that. I know there's a few shops. One of my inspirations, it doesn't really always reflect in my artwork by any stretch, but Kane, Big Tatty Kane,
Mm-hmm.
he's offered some assistance. Um, he saw when that group like tore me open, and he messaged me and he was just like, that was brutal. He's like, it's not bad, but what everyone said was brutal. Would you like, I think I
Did
can
they?
help.
Did they? So let me ask. Did you get some? I always. So I went to art school. So there was a big thing about critique. You
Yeah.
always lead with up, positive. Here's room for improvement. That's not what I found in the tattoo culture at all.
No,
It's like,
no.
what the fuck are you doing? Quit messing
Yeah.
up, and then they walk away.
Yeah. No, it was a lot of who the fuck was your mentor?
Yeah, like
Like,
just
yeah, uh, a lot of that, a lot of
yeah.
quit now, just quit now.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm very sorry. If you ever want a good, again, I'm here for you, bro. I love people asking my opinion because I really have a hard time holding back. But I'm
Nice.
kind, like I'm not a bitch. I
Well,
really try not to be.
Well,
Um,
the funny thing, so I'm not gonna. There's particular reasons why I haven't named the names from the past, and there's a reason why I'm not gonna out particular groups.
yeah.
But I will say the thing that struck me the most awe was after I was beat down from that critique, um, by multiple people who, on any given day, I would never ask their opinion anyway, right?
Right, right.
But then, 2 months later, someone posts a design or a tattoo that, you know, very similar. And everybody's like, hey, good job here. And I'm like, that's the same shit you
Politics.
guys. That's the same shit you guys told me sucked on mine, but it's the same. Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, the politics
It's
are another thing. It's a lot of that. Unfortunately, I hate that shit. I really, really do.
I mean,
Um,
it helped as because maybe, right?
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
okay,
you're
it
right.
sucked. It sucked in that moment, and I learned a lot from that. And I get to I get to grow from it, and it's not necessarily a bad thing. Like, it's just a thing, and it's when I get my own ego and emotions involved where I I get torn apart. But when I look at the experience as an observer and go, okay, I got to experience this, and what do I take from that? And it allows me to dive deeper and expand more into my art. And I get to slow down, and I get to look at whether or not whip shading a color is the right move instead of saturation. Like,
Right.
maybe that color wasn't the right color to do that technique with, and based on its contrasting parts. And I get to learn. I get to hate all the comments and still learn from it. Like,
Yeah.
and
Well, I mean,
I get to decide if I want to ever post there again.
you do. You do. I find, well, I I'm not setting the world on fire, dude. I can tell you that right now. Like, I have definitely been around the tattoo industry enough that I know that I don't have a lot of fans. Um, but and I don't know because I don't really inquire because for me, and I said this to somebody the other day, and I might have the opposite problem. Um, really, it sounds like I have a lot of trouble feeling sometimes. Like I don't know why, maybe it's a survival or trauma response, but I put on intense blinders and I cut everything else out. And I've been trying lately to integrate caring for others and other things, and it's been a lot. It's been a lot to
Yeah.
juggle. It's
Well,
very
and
hard.
and from what you've told me, um, that's a lot on top of what you've already got to deal with your health stuff.
Oh yeah, well, that's part of it though too. Like 2020 was huge for me too. I mean, it was huge for everybody, but it brought me to I always believed in God, but it brought me to a very intense relationship with God, which has its own story that wasn't a straight line. Um, but I it's your parable. My relationship with God is maybe. It's, you know, I don't know. And part of that is recognizing that you don't understand, that you are
Hmm.
actually very deeply in need of help, and that you have tried to do things as much as you can by your own making. And it's just, I mean, I was doing really, I mean, from what society would say, I was successful. But when everything collapsed in 2020, I saw what really was around me,
Hmm.
and it left very quickly. And I got to see so much of what was there. And so it was that maybe that you're like, whoa. And it shifted my whole reality too. And now finally doors are opening up in ways that I never imagined, like things. But then there's the physical element, which now I have certain doors that are opening up, but I got to focus on this. And so I very much so feel you. And I got a sick cat. And I got a very bullish husband who I love to death, but he's a turd. Um, he's a turd. He's great, but he's a Sour Patch Kid. He just, he sends me things. He's like, I already knew I was wrong for the last 10 minutes, but now I'm just having fun fucking with you. Like, he just likes watching my head just
Nice.
and then he's like, oh man, I went too far. So he'll rein it back in, but he is probably more kind, more sane, more grounded that I could ever hope to be. Really. He teaches me a lot all the time, but he drives you crazy. Like, he really will. A lot of my friends are like, oh my God. Okay, diary listeners, that wraps it for part 1 with Elo. You can follow, and you should follow Elo at ESOLARII. Of course, that has an at in front of it on IG. So Solarii. Again, he works at Youth Gone Wild in New Richmond, Wisconsin. Please check him out. He's got great work. I was super impressed by how long he's been working. He's been doing really good. He's got quite a story ahead. Please stay tuned. I know you'll come back. And if I could ask for continued prayer for me, not to be selfish, I also ask for prayer for Elo too. He's got some mountains to climb and some healing to do. For sure. And thank you, Elo, so much. But but anyway, if we can continue prayers, I have the hits keep coming, guys. As my husband might say, the moon might be an asparagus because he's a turd. But no, I don't know if there's some astrological nonsense happening, but so many people that I know are kind of going through unbelievable trials lately, and it's been a lot. So prayers all around that we might find the strength to conquer all these things, and just maybe there's a bigger plan. I know that anything that you go through that's a struggle is just going to widen your capacity for patience, humility, love. But this is the latest challenge after we had a day of saying goodbye to Ickis. When we were going to bed last night, our other cat, who is actually older than him, and I brag about how awesome she is at 19 and a half, but we suspect she might have had a minor stroke last night. She's disoriented and walking in circles, and she fell down the stairs a bit. She is all wobbly, and it was a hit right after we just said goodbye to our little dude, and we thought we'd have, I don't know, some semblance of normalcy. We spent a lot of the day cleaning up our home and just trying to get it back to not being a kitty hospice. But unfortunately, that it has to be reinstated again. And she's so sweet. I mean, both my cats are just the sweetest little babies. Massey is so cool, and I feel so bad for her. She doesn't seem to be in any pain, and so we hope. I've been told by a vet that she could rebound, so if you guys could pray for her, that would be great. I would like to ask you to pray for Elo and his partner and their continued success and growth and healing. That's great. I hope to have them both on the podcast in the future for more conversations. We got Elo's beginning, but we have more. We have more because both of them are tattoo artists. So we're definitely going to have to touch base with that. And with that, listeners, I have taken enough of your time. Elo, thank you again and again and again. You gave me so much. You're really a good talker, and I mean that in the most sincere way. You can really you speak well. You speak very well for yourself and your experience and your story, and I think that will provide other things in your future that'll set you apart from a lot of other people. It's a really beautiful gift. But I hope you come back next week, listeners. In the meantime, have a powerful week, and hopefully no moons go into asparagus, because we can't take anymore. Not that I'm tempting fate. Anyway, listeners, God bless. Powerful week. Elo, thanks, man.
Thanks for listening. You can find the Apprenticeship Diaries on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Our IG is _apprenticeship_diaries. If you would like to offer constructive criticism or an interview, drop us an email at theapprenticeshipdiaries@gmail.com. We look forward to hearing from our listeners.